What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you live with another great installment of the Bullpen with my good friends. We'll get to them in a second. But first and foremost, if you're tuning in, we hope that you will comment, like, subscribe. This is a live show, so that means if you see something and you have a reaction to it, we want to see it happen in the comment section ASAP. So I'm saying right now, put it in there. You might just see it on the broadcast. You might not. It depends on if it's good. Let's be honest. Sometimes not so good. Don't put it on. You know what is put on and is good? This Grappling Hour t-shirt. You guys can get one of these by going over to rafasparza.com/merch. Merch. You guys, /merch. Very easy to remember. You go there, $25. It supports me, and by proxy, it supports the show and makes fancy lighting and camera stuff and backgrounds and all that sort of stuff happen here. So go on over that way. You can also check us out on Patreon. If you like my interviews, you can see them 30 days before anybody else for just $5 a month. So then if you want to pay some extra dollars, and I get it, it's a tight economy, but if you want to see some technique breakdowns with athletes themselves, some people roasting my competition footage, and even more and greater content, including we're going to do some ADCC technique breakdowns for individuals who are making it to the big dance very soon for our premium edition members. So check those two things out. You could also go on to our Apple and Spotify pages at Grappling Hour. Check me out there. It means the world if you guys go and give us some love, because think of it this way. If you do that, you get to see even greater comments. You get to see even greater people that come on the show. And yesterday we had a really, really fun one with Musab Raza, and we did a running the gauntlet with him. So that's coming up very soon. Well, gents and ladies, I think it's time to go ahead and see our friends here on the show. Let's go ahead and first say hello to Jake Watson. Jake, how are you doing, sir?
Fantastic. It's another great day. Just excited to do another episode of the Bullpen. I'm glad that we've been doing these every Wednesday, and I still need to get my Grappling Hour merch. I know that's just in time for another run at that joke, but I also need to know where you get your shirts made, because I have merch that I want to make as well. That I want to put a pre-order out and have.
We can talk. The only thing that I want to bring up to you, just so that you know, is that my person's out here in California, and I don't know what their across state lines things is, because I just go like, hey dude, make this. So I'm happy to give you my guy and tell you, I'm letting you know on air right now before I forget that I'm like, oh dude, I don't know what he ships. I imagine he does, but I just want to make sure we can talk about that off air. All right, well, let's check in with our good friend Tim Freeman. Tim, are you okay, bud? Well, this isn't good.
He's dead.
Well, I don't know. He's dead. He's not well, man. Okay. Yeah. I love the fact that Tim sent us this photo, and normally I'm pretty good about asking people, can I use this photo? Are we allowed to use this photo? In this particular case, I just felt the need to send the photo that he sent us in the group chat, because I feel like group chat is kind of fair game. You know, if we put up AJ August on, we got to be able to put up this one. Now, granted, don't ever put up anything I put up, but the good news is I make this machine run. So I guess, Jake, is there any joke that you want to get about Tim while he's incapacitated here?
No, I feel bad, man. Whenever I see, because I think that there's a certain age threshold to where people getting sick is no longer funny. It's more just like concerning. Like, it's like, if he was like my age, I'd be like, I got sick, couldn't do the show. But he's at that age where I'm like, oh man, I hope he's okay. Like, does he need anything?
Can I just point out something very quickly here? And maybe I'm not sure you hear it, but like, it still kind of is a joke. And I'm not sure how aware of it you are. Like, oh, Raph, I would do a joke on Tim's expense, but I don't feel it's funny given how old he is. I mean, he's old.
It's sort of a layered attempt at a joke for sure. I'm trying to pay attention how you guys do it.
No, it's good. It's just the reason I recognize it is because it's right up my alley. So I was like, oh, I don't know if we've corrupted the young man enough to be doing these jokes, but it is what it is. Tim, we do miss you, and in your honor, we've never done this here on the show, but on the board, you may notice that, yes, your face is going to be the preview photo for every single topic. So it's our way of honoring you, Tim Freeman. So Anyway, we have a lot to get to, and I feel like we should go ahead and start with the very first one. And I feel like you and I were talking off air about somebody who could very well fit this description. But yes, we're asking who in BJJ is most like Kendrick Lamar and Drake. In case you kids have been living under a rock, there have been two very important people in rap who have been going back and forth in a battle. It's been a lot of poems and sonnets written about each other, and yet I just can't help but think this is such a big thing. It's transcended. It's now #1 hit records. And now that I'm thinking about it, I could have actually used the Kendrick Lamar song because he demonetized all of the claims for people who were playing his song so that anybody can use it. So it's almost essentially become copyright-free music. Uh-oh. I could use that for the
That's
opening
pretty cool.
Oh, man, I might do that because it's very vengeful. Anyway, so I'm going to start off here. Jake Watson, do you have any guesses as to who currently exhibits this sort of life in a rap battle style here in Jiu-Jitsu or MMA?
Well, Raph, here's the thing. From what I've heard, and I'm not as well versed in the streets as our sick friend Tim Freeman, but from what I've heard, it's pretty one-sided, and Drake is not really putting up much of a fight. So I would say the biggest equivocation I have to Kendrick Lamar versus Drake and the rivalry thereof would be Dan Monasoyo in every single ADCC Open he does. It's pretty one-sided. Dan is Kendrick in this case, and pretty much everybody else has been Drake. So that would be, if I had to think of something off the top of my head, because I can't think of a 1-for-1. There's no rivalry in jiu-jitsu that's that one-sided. From what I've seen, that is competitive to the point where the other person just can't fight back really because they don't have any ammo. So that would be my, joking take, but kind of serious.
Understood. Let me go ahead and peep you on some of those because I have been entertained in a way that I cannot fully admit here because here's why it's entertaining to me. The entire community has gotten around this topic, and I feel like some of the best jokes have been written at Drake's expense. Like, it has been entertaining, and I normally have thought Twitter is a cesspool of some sort. It has been the best Twitter I've seen recently because the joke writing I think it just went up. If I'm pitching out some names, I think you could go Adam Bradley and Gordon. Now, I know you're going on the one-sidedness, but I think in terms of people who you kind of go, oh, these people don't like each other. This seems very weird, and they're going back and forth. And, just as early as today, we saw Gordon espousing his thoughts on mental health and the need or use of therapy to the point where even somebody who's very close to him and one Tom DeBlas was like, hey guys, I read it. It's dumb. I love you all. Get help if you need it. And I thought to myself, like, it's weird that somebody would have to insert themselves and also have to say, hey, listen, all due respect, shut up. So yeah. I did kind of think that myself when I was watching all those things. And it is slightly unnerving in that way.
Yeah, if we're going off of like just people who just plain don't like each other, I would think Kynan Dwarsh, Nicholas Marigali. It's a little more nuanced, but those guys are always chipping at each other. I remember at the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix, Kynan wins basically without any real opposition. Even Giancarlo Bodoni he just didn't have anything for Kynan that day. He was on fire, and Nicholas was pissed that Kynan even said his name. Kynan's like, I want to fight Marigali again. Marigali's like, give me the mic. I'm like, you missed your opportunity, guy. It would have been good TV about 15 seconds ago, but if Rafa Spars has taught me anything, it's all about timing. And those guys are definitely at each other's throats.
You do know that I usually put down the sound, so I don't really hear the commentary, but I try to hear the interviews, and I'm pretty sure in that one, I'm not sure if you heard me all the way from my house, but I was screaming at my computer, don't give him the microphone, young Jake Watson. Whatever you do, do not give it to them, because these are unknown properties in terms of how they're going to say stuff. And once you give them the microphone, because they're going to be asking, but they're going to ask polite. You're like, I got you, man. Here you go. Like, you don't have to be a dick back to them. It's just don't worry, I've got this. When they're trying to hold the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
There is
I definitely.
You were good.
I do not let them. I'm freaking white knuckling that thing because freaking Jackson, a guy, is trying to take it out of my hands. And I'm like, no. I literally told him, I was like, don't grab the mic. Don't take the mic from me. Before the interview, I was like, do not take the mic from me. He's like, oh, sorry. I did that last time, huh? I was like, yes, don't do that.
Because to me, I just go, these goons are so untrained. It just seems like, well, interview guy, out of my way. I must talk to the people. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
props to everybody in this. And if you have not been paying attention to Twitter, I would invite you to just look up some of these and either see most popular or latest, because I think it's so random that so many people disliked Drake to the point where one dude felt he was wrong by Drake and Drake was clowning him. And he goes, you know what? I'm just going to give everybody a free beat and I'm going to give $10,000 to the person with the best rap diss on Drake. So Drake's catching strays every direction from random people who are in different countries. Like, it's very funny. And I just thought, I don't know anybody quite like that, but I have seen Gordon's mindless idiots in comment sections, basically talking to people who have small businesses and been like, I was treated so bad here today. And then they go and they funnel it with bad reviews. And you go, it's kind of similar, except, man, we're dumber. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I will say this. I do have to adjust a setting here in a second, but we're going to go to our second topic. And in honor of Tim, I've actually taken the board down to 2 minutes. So we may be moving through some of these topics a little bit faster than usual. So RIP Drake, continuing on with Kendrick. All right, guys, good news. Women have an absolute in ADCC again for the first time in about 17 years. That's amazing. What do we want next? Jake, I ask you that.
When you say what do you want next, you mean like what do we want out of ADCC next? Like what's the next progression past that? Or what do you want next out of women's jiu-jitsu?
I don't feel qualified enough to say like, hey, you women better start giving us good men. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm thinking more like, what do we want next in ADCC?
Absolutely. I think that, see, I'm a huge fan of a lot of different organizations, and a hot topic around ADCC, likely due to people like Craig Jones voicing their chagrin at the pay or the lack thereof. I think it's great that we have giant stages for jiu-jitsu. I think it's fantastic. Would I like to obviously see and have the ADCC organizers also said that they would like to see more pay? Sure. I would like to see bigger sponsorships attached to ADCC. I'd love to see things like Adidas. I'd love to see things, like eventually Coca-Cola, and I don't think it's that far-fetched because we're in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. It is like one of the premier sports venues in Las Vegas. UFC 300 was there. Mo is very well connected. So are a lot of people in ADCC. I mean, Mo's not even the big player compared to the people who are actually in Abu Dhabi, and I think it could be very, very exciting and interesting to see like more big sponsorships come in. That's what I would like, because I think that opens the door for everything we want.
Can I post something here very quickly? And I'm not sure that people are really thinking it. But, earlier today, I did see a little bit of something posted in regards to, what's going to happen, who's going to be doing it. I saw that Craig Jones was saying he's targeting August. Now, what else is happening in August, Jake?
Craig is so vengeful, dude. ADCC is August 17th and 18th in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm just going to pose a question here. What if he's angling for the same weekend?
I think Craig is going to do probably the weekend before or after. If he does it the same weekend, dude, that is psychotic. That is like some completely unhinged event planning. Because if he does it the same weekend and he does it in Las Vegas at like a small venue or something like that, just out of spite, goodness gracious, that I would be like, dude, this guy's either a genius or he's completely lost his mind.
That's exactly what he's going for. Can I just say this? Okay, so I feel like, yes, we did get that. And I do have to say, I've heard rumblings for years that they were really working to try and get more opportunities for women. So I'm not going to say it's just fully Craig's doing, but you can't deny the fact that he put pressure on them to put out something. And as a result of that, no matter how it looks, the PR version of this is going to be, it may be due in part to Craig. And let's be real, a lot of the women who have been asking for it, and every interview I have ever done, I have asked them about it, and as nervous as they are to lose their spots or say something wrong that could get them disqualified, every single woman is like stuck up and been like, I wish there were more opportunities. I wish we had the same opportunities as men. They're not saying give us more. They're not saying give us anything crazy. But with that in mind, I have a lot of respect for the women who have been putting that time out there. So it's not just Craig. It's not just Mo. It's not just the organization. It's kind of a collective of all of them. Having said that, it did happen after Craig. So you can't beat that timing. Also, before we move to our next topic, I just want to put this in here. I feel that there is a little bit of Mo pettiness that happens here and there, which is fine. People are like that. A lot of big organization people are like that. I would just caution one thing. The pettiness that people are going to use for this often open up other opportunities. So if they did pick that weekend and people had to pick, there is the prestigiousness of ADCC, but I do wonder if people would be compelled to say, I mean, would you go where there's sure money just to show? Or do you go to the big dance because it's the one that we've known forever? And I think if you really push some of those people to the edge, Craig is doing what the Joker did to Batman in The Dark Knight. And he is making them choose with the button which way they're going to go.
Yeah, but I also think that there's some athletes, we saw this with, and this is no slight towards any athlete, but we saw this with Benetti, right? Benetti in the PGF, he stepped back because he's like, okay, I am hurting. I am not gonna, I don't know if I have the best chance to win this extra 20K. So I'm gonna sit back and let PJ do it. That mentality in that sense was very intelligent, I think, but Benetti, because he got 20K richer. You know what I mean? He already won the regular season. He was in a position to make that spot. What I'm trying to say is, I think there's some athletes that'll go, okay, I'm qualified for ADCC. Because if Craig is going to do it the same weekend, okay, he's going to invite ADCC athletes. I know for a fact, because there's no way he doesn't. If he does that, some of the athletes are going to be like, all right, cool. Well, I have a chance at 10K, but do I have a chance at the 1 million? And if not, am I going to forego this definitely big opportunity to be a part of the largest scale jiu-jitsu event in history? Or, they might have that little rumbling in their head, that little wrestling in their mind. Honestly, it would be very, very interesting to see. I don't even know, dude. I'm completely.
We don't. There's nothing we know. There's uncertainty. There's
no way
abound on this one. I think that's why it's such a compelling case. Having said that, I'm just going to assume, August is a big month. Maybe they do it the Friday before ADCC. That could be a thing. I don't know. We'll see.
The same day as the Las Vegas Open.
Exactly. I mean, why not?
I want to compete at the Vegas Open.
You should 100% do it.
I would like to.
But I know that some people, and I know this is not directed at you, Jake, but I'm saying, like, some people are like, oh, I don't gamble. Sure, maybe not physically gamble, but I argue most athletes gamble with their bodies because they're trying to figure out the equation of, does this make sense for me? This is risky. I don't know. So there's always a gambler's equation. And I feel like if you put them with some money and you say, hey, listen, you can get this show money, you might see some of these guys get a little twisted in that. And I mean, the hard part is this. Everybody who's qualified for ADCC thinks of it like this. It's the top organization. It's an honor to compete for it. But then you have so many people who are just trying to make a living who are like, I'm trying to do this for me. I'm trying to do this for my family. I'm trying to do this for my legacy. And you're going to see all of those different parts of the equation go into the gambler's equation on, do they do it or do they not? So I guess what I'm saying is, tune in to watch. If anything, Craig has made this entirely compelling. And I have to give him props for that. I did see a comment here, and I'm going to just double check on what it is. And it says, this is good. Eggheads put, don't ever try to take Stephen Aiken's mic either. They should not. Thank God. I'm really, like, Stephen Aiken is no joke. I know that he has a character that he plays, but that dude's still a very qualified and good individual. And it says, bird in the hand, take the show money. I mean, Egghead does not, the Egghead's practicality is legendary. Like, my man is thinking for a big angle here. And I do see this, and this is the one that caught my eye from Bryce, and it says, the less signups for Craig's events, the higher the statistical odds for people who have for winning the grand prize. I will say this though, Bryce, I still think you're going to get 32 people. Like, I think it's going to be a 16-man bracket and a 16-man bracket for the plus 80 and then minus 80. So, sure. But I mean, even if you narrow down the odds to being 16, it's not like you're beating 16 or 15 other people. You're beating essentially 4 people to get your money.
Yeah.
So
that's $250,000 per victory. That's crazy, you know.
And I
if
wonder,
you win the million.
Did we say this last week? Were we talking about the sustainability of what Craig is proposing here? And the more and more I think about it is I go, I don't even think he cares about sustainability. I think he's just looking to crash and burn. Like, let it be a one in and out.
Here is what I think is, and we can move on to the next topic after this one because we got a lot to cover today. But we have to take into consideration too that when you sign up for a tournament like this, and I know bird in the hand, take the money, I get it, but if you sign up for a tournament like this, which the whole birth of this tournament, the conception of it is anti-ADCC. That is the sentiment. If you as an athlete sign up for a tournament like that, you are positioning yourself like, hey, I also agree with Craig. I don't like ADCC. That's how the promoter might look at it. You know what I mean? And I think that jiu-jitsu's not at that stage yet where you can afford to be blacklisted by big companies. I just don't think, I don't know. That's me. I enjoy a lot of great relationships, a lot of great companies. I don't really have any complaints to begin with, but I just think as an athlete, you also have to think about the long game. You can't just think about the money. You have to think about, okay, what if ADCC does introduce, $50 to $60, $75,000 cash prizes next ADCC, but I signed up for this tournament that I lost at and I won $10,000, and now Mo doesn't like me because I signed up for this tournament that was specifically to spite him. I don't know. That's because Mo doesn't forget. Mo brings up stuff from like 10 years ago. I don't know. That's just a perspective I have.
Sure, but I mean, it's the one guy at the dance here. So I like that you have the two different perspectives here of somebody who has the best formal relationships with just about every organization and some guy who considerably does not. So I can at least tell you from the other perspective is, sure, but it does look like other opportunities are coming. So I would say this.
Absolutely.
I would say the difference is, what is that other opportunity going to give you? If you have to make your own individual choices, do what you need to do. Don't even care. Like, literally do what's best for you in that scenario. And yeah, it may limit you on the long term, but at the same point, unless they're raising the money, you're not going to get a raised money unless you put a little bit of pressure on them. Just like what we saw with the IBJJF, which now is offering just equal amounts of money in some cases. So it does make you think. You may not feel like you have a lot of power in this, but yes, if you're a very compelling athlete, you could start to position and utilize that power in different ways. So just saying, let's go to our next topic. But thank you all for chiming in on that one. I figured it would be interesting, but I didn't know you guys would have that much of it in it. So I'm actually going to hold on this topic because I actually have to go back and get the footage. So we're actually going to go to our next one, which is a very interesting one. Okay, I don't know if you guys knew this, but yes, this past weekend, Dana White was involved in a roast. He basically was complaining about the fact that he only got a minute and 30. Now, I know that's probably a joke that they wrote for him on the inside of it. Some news articles were basically saying, like, Dana's complaining he only got a minute 30. And I go, I think that's the bit. I think he probably didn't want to do too much more, but he agreed to do 90 seconds worth of stuff. So I ask you this, Jake, did you get to hear Dana's comments? Did you hear what he said at the roast?
I watched his very opening bit and I thought, oh, it's, again, I don't want to say nothing too bad, but like I was not impressed. And I was not impressed by his performance. And I just think the Dana lean, but he went right for this very political joke right off the bat. It's a roast of Tom Brady and you're Dana White. In my opinion, why are you there? You run MMA and you're here at a roast for the greatest NFL quarterback of all time. And then the very first thing you did was complain about you. And I'm just like, you wasted about 20 of the 90 seconds, which I think he actually was given 60. You wasted about a good chunk of your time for a bit that wasn't that great. I was not impressed. I think that there were some people that really showed out at that roast. I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw some highlights, but I don't know. I wasn't very impressed. But I can't wait to hear your take because you are a comedy connoisseur.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I thought one thing that I could do once I cue this off over this way was I could actually give you guys a little bit of a rendition of what Dana White did sound like. Because if you didn't see the roast, I'll go ahead and do the exact text for you, and I'll show you how quickly it can be done. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana White. You know, it pisses me off. I flew all the way out here and you guys only give me 60 seconds? My name is Dana. Is that not trans enough for you liberal fucks? Wait for applause. Tom, you played for the Patriots so long that I was actually starting to feel like you were from Boston. Then I saw you run and I was like, no, he's definitely from San Francisco. You led the league for 20 years in passing as a straight guy. Now, actually, I want to give him some credit. The delivery on that one, it was subtle. It wasn't great, but it was Dana's best, like, it's like off a cliff joke. And it says, I got two of the baddest dudes in the world right here. Sugar Sean O'Malley and Max Holloway. Tom, you would have been a great fighter. You're already master of the ground and pound. That's what you call coffee dates with your boyfriend, Alex Guerrero. Wait for applause. You people probably don't know this, but Jeff Ross was very interested in the UFC. He thought it meant unlimited fried chicken. I love you, Tom. Thank you. That was the set. That's literally all of the jokes they gave him.
4 of the 5 were gay jokes.
Yes. And the weird part about it is that when I heard him do it, I go, oh, he's going to barrage through these, and good for him. But at the same point, I was just like, all right, what can we have given him? I would say this, Dana. The worst thing you can do is hold for applause at a roast. You got to do this, which is, hey, is that not liberal enough for you trans fucks? Hold, look at the camera. Next point, let's do this. Dana was looking around like, you guys like that one? And I go, no. Don't wait, because you build it in. I'm sure somebody backstage told him, like, hey, they might laugh at this. No, they wouldn't do that at a roast. You know why? Because that never happens. You're not supposed to wait for it. If you want to see a good set at that one, go watch Nikki Glaser. Her jokes were, her timing was, I thought she did a very, very solid job. And do you know that roast is 3 hours?
Dude, I don't know how Tom Brady can sit through I could never sit through a roast of myself for 3 hours. I feel like I would start to actually feel kind of bad. You know, I'd start to have like my conscience start to be like, man, are they serious?
Oh, no.
Like, there's a lot of personal stuff, man. Holy moly.
This
like Tom Brady's wife left him for a jiu-jitsu guy. Like, that is terrible. Like, that is so sad.
I should point this out because I'm not sure that you saw what ended up happening on that either. They were referring to it as a karate instructor. So Kevin Hart in his opening remarks was saying like, yeah, I can't believe she left you for a karate guy. What sense does this make? She had like 8 or 9 lessons with the karate guy. She did this to you, kind of a thing. And all I was thinking was, I was like, oh man, I know a couple of those writers on this roast. They know for sure I would crucify them if I found out that they confused karate for jiu-jitsu. So I think they chose what sounded funnier. And as a result of that, yes, sure, no big deal. But then Jeff Ross got it right. And I go, oh, okay. So it wasn't just for sound. Jeff Ross actually called it a jiu-jitsu instructor, but then proceeded to do the crane kick. And I go, oh God, we're catching bodies left and right. This is supposed to be a win for jiu-jitsu. This is supposed to be like one of the few times we get mentioned in the big kid conversation. And yet they're like, you mean your karate? We were so close.
I think that, like, look, I'm this joke, I was like, oh gosh, but it was directed at Kim Kardashian. And I think it was by Tony Hinchcliffe, I think is his name. Yep. He said, Kim Kardashian, speaking of our first topic, Kim, you have more public beef than Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is like, holy crap. And she's just like, that's funny. I'm just like, dude, that is that's
Listen,
crazy.
Kim had nuclear heat there that they had to go and re-edit the show. So
Yeah.
I can say this. It's tough, and if you've never done a roast, it will test your feel. So I'm glad that you did say what you say, because I can now cancel the roast of Jake Watson that I was planning.
Yeah, I don't want that. I'll be honest. I don't
Man,
like
I already sold it to Comedy
the thought of
Central,
that.
so I think it just might happen. But
Yeah.
first of all, we also have to be important enough to roast. So we're not quite there as a sport, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
you, as a guy who holds a microphone and is in a suit a lot, I mean, you're definitely
We should do the roast of Gordon Ryan. The roast of Gordon Ryan would sell. I guarantee it.
So I pitched yesterday on the show the roast of John Danaher, and that it would be, the dais would be all B team members. So I want to see that happen. And it says, why did Tom get upset about the massage comment? So Robert Kraft was there. In case you don't know, Robert Kraft kind of got caught eliciting weird stuff at a massage, got out, and Jeff Ross sees him and goes, hey, I see Robert Kraft's here. Now, part of the thing is they didn't know for sure if he was coming or not. So when he did see it, he went out and did the joke. And then all of a sudden, you see Tom Brady come up to him and like, hey, man, don't say that shit again. And it clearly, like, he got from his seat, went up to him, and Jeff Ross goes, okay, no problem. The issue is, when you do a roast, that's not how that works. But that's like a rich person version of like, hey, bud, I'm very rich. You can't do that joke. But the next day, it did look like everybody was in good spirits. I think that it was Jeff Ross. He went on the Rich Eisen show, and I think he was saying, like, no, Tom was fine. It's just he's very protective. He figures Kraft is kind of like a father figure to him. So when you put it like that, I kind of get why somebody may not necessarily want to hear that about your guy. And yes, I do hear Karate Guy, and it says, PGF Season 8, we roast Jake Watson. So let me just say this, Egghead, roast with caution. He is still a black belt, and I am not in charge of him when he charges after people like a wild animal.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't attack anybody. I would just go home, and I would probably shed a few tears, and my wife would hold me, and I'd be like, "That's just jokes. It's just jokes," and she'd be like, "They're just jokes. They're just jokes."
Just jokes. Yeah. I will tell you this. Maybe we don't ever have to do one because you were on the show, and I feel like we roast you plenty on this one, so I think you might be fine. Challenges. Okay. So just in case you guys were not clear on what is happening in the outside world, meaning the real world, let's actually keep this on challenges here. There's some things happening in the MMA world where you're seeing some folks actually get challenges from the MMA world for BJJ super fights. And what I found was interesting is the people involved weren't necessarily at the top of my list, but they're intriguing. You have Anthony Smith and Alex Pereira are now apparently going to have a $50,000 jiu-jitsu super fight. And there's been a lot of teasing of Tony Ferguson having a match against Chucky Olives, meaning Charles Oliveira. So I ask you this, young Jake Watson, what other MMA athletes do we want to see in BJJ's super fights?
Man, I first of all, those two options sound very, very fun. I think that, see, there's a lot of athletes in the jiu-jitsu scene who I think would like that shot to cross over into MMA. But John Jones a long time ago did Submission Underground, and he fought Dan Henderson. I think it'd be fun to see him in a no-gi super fight. And I know that he probably would never do it because he has probably got a price that's like so big. But seeing him do it again, I know he has participated in no-gi tournaments. I know that he has, he's even made appearances at like Nagas in Phoenix, like crazy signing up for a tournament like that. But I know he has competed in the no-gi scene before. He trains at Gracie Baja, I believe. He might be a brown belt or a black belt by now. But I would like to see him. That would be, I think he's got a good wrestling pedigree. I think it'd be exciting, and it would bring a lot of eyes to the sport for sure.
I want to say this. Listen, my guy, I think, is fairly simple, fairly easy to understand. And I hope that you guys are with me on this. Why are we not seeing Khabib do anything? Like, I get it if Khabib's mom has a thing where she's like, mijo, don't go out there and have fights.
Mijo?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm sure that's what she says. But if you think about it, you could 100% still go out there and have BJJ matches. That was the whole secret sauce of what he did. Not many of us were going to watch Khabib strike. So why not give us what we want? And I heard for years they were trying to make a super fight happen. In fact, if memory serves me right, I thought that Mo was trying to make one happen between him and GSP. And I said, I want to see that more than I want to see them fight. Like, that would be interesting to me. The problem is, I guess they probably cost a lot, which, sure. But in actuality, like, what else are you doing, dude? Like, that's what I'm saying. That's the whole purpose of a segment like this, where we ask this question, which is, what else are you doing? Come do this for us. Because, listen, man, we can speak to your competitiveness. We can speak to the fact that you're still an athlete at the end of the day. So why not? Why not get that sort of reaction out of you? So that's my hope. Because otherwise, whenever Khabib's like, you guys like cell phone? I'm like, no, I don't want your mobile service. You guys like fights? No, nobody cares about you as a promoter. And in fact, I haven't heard any more about that organization. So I say to you, come give us some jiu-jitsu. That's it. That's my hope. So that's what I got for you. I do want to point this out. Somebody says, damn, I thought Tom threw the joke back into Ross's face as a joke. Jake said that he sat there 3 hours. That was Tom's reaction, trying to stay upbeat. No, actually, that happened very early. So it was only at the 40-minute mark. And no, that's 100% a real reaction. In fact, Nikki Glaser went on a different show later and said she thought it was very real. Like, and if it's supposed to be part of the act, like, that's not the worst joke you can say about somebody. Like, legitimately just repeating the action that happened should not be the trigger, because that's what happens in court. Hey, did you give a massage? Okay. Did you take a massage? That's a court thing. In this realm, yeah, there's a lot more people and a lot more eyeballs. If you watch that roast, that's getting off light. Pun intended. There you go. So let's go ahead and go to our next topic here. Our next one is who's number one? Well, Jake, I actually kind of want to give you the shine here because you're going to be there, sir. So tell the people about it. What can we look forward to in just a few days when you are going to be doing, I guess, double duty at Who's Number One?
Yeah, absolutely. So Who's Number One? I'm looking at the fight card right now. Who's Number One is Friday, May 10th at the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas. I will be there doing not just the pre-show, but also I will be the official MC/ring announcer of the event. It's my first time doing that live on Flow Grappling, so I'm very excited for that opportunity. Headlined by Nicholas Marigali and Wagner Rocha. Andrew Tackett and Tommy Langaker is the co-main event. And then a couple of the feature matches. Felipe Pena will take on Rafael Lovato Jr. and JT Torres will take on Nicky Ryan. I guess I'll limit it to those four. So as far as the main event, you know, it's hard to pick against Nicholas Marigali, but Wagner Rocha was victorious recently in the Pit Submission Series by Karate Combat against Luke Griffith. I'm sure one of the main teammates of Nicholas Marigali. I think it's interesting. I think the Who's Number One rule set is very hard to dominate Wagner in. The only person who ever really did it was Gordon Ryan. Of course, Wagner did have that chess match that really nothing happened in versus Josh Hinger that one time as well. But I would say a safe bet is Marigali, but, you know, I'm always rooting for the underdog, even though I am called to be unbiased. But in the co-main event, I couldn't give you a prediction there. I think Andrew Tackett is on an absolute tear. I'm excited to see him go out there versus Tommy. I think they're both back hunters. They go about it in a very unique way comparison to one another. I think Tommy definitely has to take Andrew very, very seriously because Andrew is the kind of guy that he just has some unhinged jiu-jitsu. He is so fun to watch, and he is very creative. And as far as Felipe Pena, Rafael Lovato, I don't anticipate that one's going to have high-flying, dynamic jiu-jitsu. I would say Felipe Pena, from what I've heard from people, that he is making a comeback and that he has reinvigorated his training. He's refocused. He's rededicated. So I am going to say, man, I'm excited to see Pena. I want to see him go out there and put on a good performance again. And then JT Torres, Nicky Ryan, hard to pick against JT, but of course, Nicky is phenomenal competitor. But I think that JT's experience and the way that he grapples is very hard to do anything against. So I'll pick JT Torres there.
I feel like that's such a good test to see JT back on out. Like, and not just JT, but also seeing one, when you really think about it, it's actually a test for both of them because we haven't really seen a ton of Nicky Ryan recently. Didn't he just come back from injury?
Well, he competed at the 2023 ADCC East Coast Trials, made it to the finals, lost to Elijah Dorsey. Elijah pretty much utilized wrestling fundamentals and nothing more than like purple belt level passing techniques just consistently over the period of time. Nicky has, I guess one of the things that he has struggled with in his career has been, as per his teammates, and this is not me making a conjecture, but as per his teammates, he is often better in the training room than he is in competition. But we have seen his cardio be a bit of an issue. We've never seen JT Torres have a cardio issue in his entire career, pretty much. So I think that with a 15-minute submission only, basically, no-gi match, it does favor JT if he can put the pressure on.
And I mean, JT's preparation is legendary, so I'm very excited about that. And again, big props to Langaker and Tackett. That's been something that's been on my radar, and I'm very excited for that. So those are the two that like jump out to me. Obviously, I'll see the others, but like those two specifically, I had my eyes on. I do want to bring this up because, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I was going to say that I just have I'm not a matchmaker by any means, but Andrew Tackett and Mika Galvão were slated to meet in the final of the Who's Number One, I believe it's the welterweight Grand Prix. That was at Who's Number One, I believe 20, Night of Champions, I think. Don't quote me on that, but Mika Galvão would win 2 matches, first versus J-Rod, and then he'd fight PJ Barch in the final. But if you remember, Andrew Tackett had that match with PJ Barch that was amazing match between those two, and Andrew was able to win. Andrew ended up getting a slipped disc in his back or something like that, and he had to withdraw from the tournament. Now Andrew Tackett wins ADCC West Coast Trials. Mika Galvão has defended against Kenta Iwamoto, but Andrew Tackett was never given that shot that he would have had if he was able to meet Mika in the final, and he still hasn't gotten that shot. Andrew Tackett deserves the welterweight title shot. He does. Like, him versus Mika is the match to make. Now, do I think Mika's going to lose? I don't know. But at least give the kid the shot that he's already earned and then some. That's just what I'll say.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, the nice part about it is I feel like Tackett's just building up more and more experience. Maybe it could work to his benefit that it does go there. Like, nobody ever thinks of it that way because they think like, oh, this dude deserves, and he does. But at the same point, like, he's going up against quality competitors, and I feel like those reps for a kid that young, focused, and especially that talented, I think that could make a significant difference by the time they end up going to have that match against each other, because I do feel most people, maybe when it was presented, thought, all right, Mika's got this, no problem. Like, yeah, sure, Tackett could be very surprising, and he could be very unconventional, but at the same point, like, I think Tackett works best when you consider him an underdog. So in that particular case, I have been very much waiting to see how that plays out, but yeah, that'll be very, very interesting. So I'm very happy to see Tackett get some shine. And Langaker, dude, man, don't ever count that guy out. That dude's a beast as well.
Never.
That dude's an actual Viking. So not going to get too much there. I want to get to this next topic. This one, I think you didn't pitch that. This is a Tim pitch, right?
Yeah, I think I was very bad at filling out the PGF.
This isn't a yell at you. I'm just trying to figure out if you know. And
I know. I'm just saying.
Or not. So here's what
let me see.
The pitch here was. It's for Smashing, and the Smashing aspect says The Rock released footage of him preparing for his role as Mark Kerr in the new Smashing Machine movie. What fighter grappler would you like to see in a movie about, and who should play their character? So, other context to this, Ronda Rousey recently just signed a deal with Netflix to write her own biopic based off of her memoirs that she has released. Now, she's released 2 different books, but she won't star in it, which I actually think is a benefit to all of us. But it is interesting. Most people just sell the rights. She actually wrote the screenplay, and I think, don't quote me here, she may have sole credit as the writer of the screenplay. So, having said all of that, Jake, who in MMA or jiu-jitsu would you like to see have a movie, and who would you like to see play?
You know, I don't know who could play this person. I don't know. Maybe you know a lot more about the cinema industry and actors that might look like this person. You could reach for characters and names like Gordon Ryan, right? Because he's very pervasive and he had a meteoric rise to fame. But I would love to see somebody make a biopic about Leandro Lo. And I mean, his entire story has all the elements of a good biopic. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. It's a terrible tragedy that happened. But I mean, I don't know of more athletes who were beloved like he was and who left a legacy in the gi and no gi scene like he did. And I don't know who would play him. I don't know actors that resemble him enough. Like I remember the Rami Malek played Freddie Mercury, and people were like, "Wow, dude! Like he did a good job. Like he did it like shot for shot almost that final at Wembley for the Live Aid concert." And he did a really, really good job with it. I don't know what actors could do a good job like that, but I would like to see a Leandro Lo biopic. That'd be very, very cool.
That's a great call. Excellent work there. See, I like when we can put you under pressure where you don't know exactly where you're going to end up because you're like,
yeah, I had no idea. I just thought Leandro is the easy choice. Like he's amazing.
Well, I mean, he's also deserving of it. I mean, you could also depict what happened and the kind of the fallout from it and the huge response that he had. That is a biopic. I may actually have to option that, so that was never here. I'll edit this out of future broadcasts so that I can main rights. So there is that.
Oh,
so,
I don't know. I didn't know it was biopic. I didn't know that. I thought it was biopic. Sorry.
Yes. I would tell you this, though. We'll get to the comments here in just a second, but I do want to restart this. I can happily announce that I was able to get the footage of, let's go back a little bit here to lockdown. Now, apparently, this became a lockdown. Now, full disclosure, I know Matt. I have met him very briefly. He's a very nice individual, but he had a match recently against Rafael Asunakau, or as I have called him many times in the past, Ass Cow. Now, that may come back, and I probably won't say that to his face once you see this footage and how heated he does get. But I will tell you this, though, Jake. This is an interesting one for a number of reasons. And it will kind of be one of the last things that we kind of touch on here. But if you look at this footage, it is I was a little perplexed as to why it was controversial in any way, shape, or form. But you have a sharp eye, and I'd like to bring it to your attention. So let's go ahead and just look at this version of what's happening here. And I'll go ahead and put this over me. So Jake, kind of get an idea of what's happening here is we see that Matt is going for lockdown, and they just stopped it here. So this is another angle of what's happening. He's going for this lockdown. He has it. And then all of a sudden, they basically stop the match. Here, you're going to see them do the disqualification, and they're going to raise Rafael's hand. Now, it's not just that. It's then him saying, all of you 10th Planet people are pussies. This is him saying, go ahead and film it. And then I guess there is a woman saying, yo, stop it. It's ridiculous. But let's take a look at this one more time just to give people some context. Yes, you can clearly see the lockdown and an under grip here, but that's about it. And yet, this is enough to go ahead and stop the match. And then you do see.
Did he kick him?
Let's find out. Let's see it again.
Does he kick him?
Wait. I think you might be right. I think he does kind of kick him off.
But look
very
from
subtle,
this angle.
Like, Let's see here. 3,
look,
2,
okay.
1. Okay.
And
so
then
he
look.
gets him off, and he does. Yeah.
Oh no, he's not kicking him. He's swinging up to get up.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my perspective. In the IBJJF, I believe that's the Masters division. You can't do heel hooks and stuff like that in a Masters division. But here's the deal. Lockdown is not an illegal technique. If Rafael was unable to continue, then there's no DQ. That's on you. It's like if I'm in a single leg, right, and I'm a purple belt, and I go for a single leg, and the guy's like, oh, he's knee barring me. It's a single leg. Like, no, sit down. You know what I mean? Rafael could have accepted the sweep, but his knee popped. So I don't think it's a DQ. He could have swept and given up the 2 points. I think that part's ridiculous. Here's the part that really bothers me is I'm pretty sure, and I don't know, actually we have a expert in law here in the comment section. I'm pretty sure spitting on somebody counts as assault. Incredibly disgraceful, very hard to watch behavior from Rafael Assunção, well known for getting knocked out by Cody Garbrandt at the buzzer. But I'm just like baffled at that because first of all, you're like a veteran of the game. You said film it, and then you spit on him not once, but over and over and over again on a DQ that you could have prevented. That's my stance. I'm not known for taking big stances and putting my foot in the ground. But this is ridiculous. It was an absolutely disgraceful show of unsportsmanlike conduct by Rafael Assunção, and I had a hard time watching the video.
It's just odd. because you could see if Matt was getting in his face or doing anything like that. And maybe there's some context missing. But if you're taking it from base value, and again, I do know Matt, so I've never seen him that heated or anything like that. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you it definitely looks odd. And more importantly, just from a personal standpoint, makes some of us Raphaels look like hotheads. And listen, I'm many things. I'm not a hothead. But I can tell you this. The other personal thing, if you take out lockdown from IBJJF, yikes, it's not good for my game. Like, just it's a real big help.
Rafgard will suffer.
It will. And it says, an unwanted touching by someone else. I just Googled it, and it seems to be battery, but assault works. So we do have that in the chat. Jake, before we get you on out of here, we do have a couple more comments here, so I'm going to move on over to just our what has the streets been saying. And so we do have some of that here in the comment section. One of the first one, or it says, or assault consummated by battery. See, I hear
Thank you,
consummated,
Mr. Warner.
and I think something very different. And it says, no way she has a ghostwriter for sure. So that's where things get odd, because movies with ghostwriters do happen, but it becomes, what is the contribution? So once you go to like a writer's guild or something like that, they usually have to disclose that. Now, she did co-write the books, I believe, with her sister, but I'm not sure. So if they do split it, it would be within the family, and that would make sense. But from the last I saw, it did look like she had a solo credit. I'll just say this. I think that Rhonda's a very controversial person, but I feel like she is exactly, like, she played that hand perfectly. She got a Netflix deal. She didn't get a movie distribution deal, which means you would have box office reports, because no matter how much money that movie made, let's say it's 20 million, they'd be like, she sucks. Instead, this is one where even the people who hate her, which tends to be very high, will tune in to probably say this sucks, but they'll tune in, and that's where you get your return from Netflix. So I think it was a very smart thing to do for the Ronda Rousey camp. So congratulations on that. And I wanted to give a big shout out to our friends over at the PGF Insiders. So I don't know if you saw this, Jake, but there was something super nice that was happening from those gents. They recently tagged us yesterday, and they basically gave us a shout out, and they said that they enjoyed watching our pre and post show. And they told us that even though they were around and they kind of knew some of the stuff that was happening, that they were saying like, oh, we just really went back home to watch it because we didn't get to experience it the full way we did. So that was just an extra step. And they put up a very nice social media clip. So we wanted to shout out the good folks over at the PGF Insiders. Wallow Jay, thank you so much for saying that. I know you took the lead on that, but of course you got Steven and you've got Egghead, and just all of those guys that you got to know a lot better when you were working together on that show. So we appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for the kind words, and we wanted to say that. So, Jake, let's do this. Let's get you on out of here. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people where they can see you, because in case they didn't hear, where are they going to see you this weekend, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to be at Who's Number One, 23, May 10th. Once again, it's going to be live at the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas on Flow Grappling. I will be the ring announcer, so you'll hear my voice the entire event. Announcing the athletes as they come to the stage and the winner. You can also catch me May 18th, Lights Out Extreme Fighting with Bulletproof Blake Troop. Me and him will be calling the action there. My very first MMA show, May 22nd through 25th, I think it is AIGA in Brazil. Huge shout out to the team at AIGA. I'll be there as well. And then you'll see me at IBJJF Worlds for another bout of commentary with my good friend Danny O'Donnell. So I'm very, very busy. You guys can also tune into the Open Guard Cast. It's on Spotify and it's on my YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Jake Watson Media. I just did a rebrand. I'm going to make t-shirts. I'll put out a pre-order. I'll tell everybody how that goes.
Well, maybe I'll get one of those t-shirts.
And if we can just do a tradesies.
We could.
That would be sick.
I could buy yours before you buy mine, because I could just say I'm going to buy it. No, I'm just kidding. We'll do our thing. But I do want to tell people, thank you so much, Jake. You can get on out of here. I'll close this up and I'll message you a little bit later. But Jake is off to go ahead and teach the good folks
children
jiu-jitsu. Well, I was going to say the youth, but you're young too. So anyway, Jake, thank you so much. Good luck this week, sir.
Thank you. Love you, Raph.
Appreciate you, brother. All right. And now we can talk trash about Jake. Okay. Wait, is he still on the call? Hold on. Did he leave? Let's find out. Jake, say a word if you're still here. Ha ha! He is gone. All right. So guys, let's get together for the roast of Jake. I'm just saying it'd be a lot of fun, right? I know he'd feel bad, but I mean, we'd feel good. So it's a good trade-off. I think society needs this. I think jiu-jitsu needs this. This is how we rebuild. And it says the first thing we did when we got back to the Airbnb. Thanks, Egghead. That's super dope. So let's go through a few things. First and foremost, you guys, we do have some folks. We wish Tim a healthy recovery. Obviously, he wasn't feeling great. I wasn't sure if it was the bird flu. It was something. Something took him down to the point where about an hour before the show, he's like, hey, man, I don't think I'm going to make it. It might be a game time decision. And I had to go to him and I had to say, hey, man, up or down? This isn't a show that you can just do that with. We need to know, sir. And he's like, I'm dying. And I go, oh, well, now I feel bad. So anyway, shout out to him. We love you. Get better. Jake's doing some great jobs. And I'll have him on mute. I think we might do a fight companion for that this Friday. So come back here. Hang out with me. It'll be a Friday. Let's all watch and be bored and dumb jiu-jitsu people all together. And we can also make fun of Jake. Because we'll have him on mute. So it's not going to be like anything that, we can't just be there. And it goes, oh, no. It says the roast will be okay. I'll just wear a rash guard and shorts. Hard for a traditional guy to hurt you when you go Danaher style. Yeah, I mean, Egghead, the more I think about it, if we shaved your head fully, you wouldn't be a bad candidate to play John Danaher. So if we're talking about biopics, it's not bad. I'd have to get you to work with an accent coach to get that down a little bit more. I can definitely help you on a little bit of that. But it's the speech pattern. We just have to give people the emulation that you're basically portraying John Danaher. We don't have to go the full version of it. Yeah, it's good to know. All right, let's write that one down. Egghead as John Danaher. All right, some reminders for myself. Hey, check this out. On Saturday, you can see your boy over here over at Sparstar. So at Sparstar MMA, you will hear me back on the commentary with our good friend John Evans. We are always a blast to listen to, I hope. And I think that you guys enjoy it. We have a lot of amateurs that are fighting. You can also go to Sparstar MMA. You can catch it on there. If you become a subscriber for $9.99 a month on their program, you essentially get the pay-per-view. And I think that's pretty good. So support local talent, support the new guys, because the new guys become the vets sooner than you think. And we have some very, very good, talented individuals who are going to be fighting on that card. So I'm very excited for that. You can also like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't know what you want to comment on, why don't you tell us what the best joke for the Jake Watson roast would be? You can do it here, because I don't know we get to do one. So we might as well just start doing it like we were. And it says, oh, you have the context for us, Scott. Thank you. Also, Scott, why is this dude doing the weather? Is that you? And are you doing the weather? What's happening in this photo? I have so little context here in what's happening in this. I can't be wrong. It looks like you're doing a weather report. Okay. And it says there was a full setup, longer video. When Matt wasn't looking for the lockdown, RA just wasn't familiar with the leg entanglement. Very hard to get that knee popped until the electric chair. If follow trap knee. Yeah, I mean, dude, I hit lockdown a lot and I'm very familiar with it. And with a lot of my training partners, it's different when it's competition, but with his training partners, I try to give them a minute and they always look at me like, this ain't shit. This isn't nothing. And I'm like, hey man, like it's still pretty powerful. And my favorite are the people who tap. They're like, yeah, I tap because, it's my knee. I was feeling something. Like, could you imagine doing that with a rear naked choke where people are like, oh yeah, I just tapped because I was losing air. Like, no big. It was more a crank anyway. So I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but Jesus Christ. Yeah. I think of it like this. Any of us who compete know that it is not always your day. Like, things happen. You always want to play fair and by the rules. It didn't look like anything was that crazy there. And yes, if you don't know the difference on a certain move, you can feel a certain way. But when you're subscribing to that form of competition, maybe it is on you to be a little bit more familiar with what you can do. I hit a lockdown and an electric chair on somebody in competition, and the dude, he was very good. He beat me, but at the end of it, he was like, what were you doing to me? And I was like, oh, it was an electric chair. And he goes, man, it felt really, like, it was really tight. And I go, well, clearly not enough. But, like, I didn't beat you, but womp womp. And we had a laugh about it. We just basically were like, hey, man, you're dope. You scored 1 billion points on me, and I tried to lockdown on you. Did not work. Which, by the way, you could see if you go on over to our Patreon, because we did a roast draft version of that where athletes come on and they roast my competition footage. And Gary Tonin was like, oh, look at that. Look at you with the lockdown. I was like, that's right. I got something. I did lose by a lot of points, but yikes. Anyway, in the future, we'll see. So anyway, there is that. But yeah, go on over to our Patreon. So it's patreon.com/grappling hour. You can subscribe to it. You'll see my interviews 30 days before anybody else. We have some new stuff coming up within this week, and I'm very excited about that. You guys will enjoy those interviews. I am quite certain we try to do our best with them. And for a few extra dollars, you can see the segments like Roast Raf, some ADCC breakdown profiles, etc., all that sort of stuff. And last couple things, if you guys haven't liked and subscribed to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'd love it if you'd go there. And you can also become a member of the Grappling Hour Discord by going on over to Grappling Hour on Discord. It's that easy. We try to just put Grappling Hour on everything. You can also find us on Instagram. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here this week at the Bullpen. Our best wishes to Jake Watson. Please have a good class tonight. And to Tim Freeman, please feel better. But this has been a blast. We'll see you guys back here for the Bullpen next week. I will see you guys back here this Friday for a fight companion for Who's Number One. And we'll answer the question, how can we have a roast about Jake Watson without Jake Watson being here? Anyway, that's going to do it for us, you guys. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you guys back on the mats.